pretty good. I only worked for like half of it and did pretty much nothing for the other half, so.
Spencer, you need to go see Mr. Champion.
Right now?
Yeah, he just called for you. He said he had something to ask you.
Okay.
You know where he is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just with him like about an hour ago.
Hey,
How's your weekend?
it was good. Are you feeling better?
Feeling better?
Yeah, you were out.
Oh, I had a college trip. Well, miss. And then I went to the game because they were so fun.
Why would you want to go to Old Miss?
Mr. Tyson, I turned in the problem to get my app credit back.
Okay.
And then also, Monday, are we just reviewing for the test? Because I think I'll have the bio letters ready for you.
I mean, really what I'm about to show you is the last new thing in this unit, but I don't know the exact assignment from that day yet.
So Friday, we have another A day, so could I get Monday's stuff on Friday?
Hopefully. I will try to be that prepared. But
Okay. Because I can either take it Monday or Tuesday, but I have to get Monday. Monday and Tuesday. You should just take it. You gonna take it? Bioliteracy?
Oh.
Oh, you're not gonna take it? You should still take it, because you can read tests and sleep for just the section you should
Spencer's.
Just kind of see if you're not posting.
You signed me up all over this weekend. Next week.
I would ask him.
I'll let you have one guess.
I can try to send it.
Because I'm failing.
Because you can still just
Spelling.
even if you don't
I
pass,
have all my
you
homework.
can
It's
still
just like,
pass. And not just
also, I'm also failing other classes and I gotta pay attention to them too.
Sounds like you need to start putting in some work outside of class then.
Yeah, but I could also do it during advisory instead of it here.
All right. So one of the handouts you guys picked up this morning is 43. That is derivatives of exponential functions. That's going to take us about 30 seconds to go over, but that needs to be numbered as 43. After that, I've got one Khan Academy assignment assigned to you. It is on related rates, but specifically Pythagorean theorem type, which is the most common type. The other two pieces of paper you picked up on your way in go together for your next test review for Unit 3. So those two need to be numbered 45. Yep.
So there were two assignments for the implicit differentiation book assignment, and I turned it in on the first one.
Yeah,
But-
I just didn't have time to look at it
Yeah.
yet. I got your email though,
Thank you.
but I'll fix it.
Reading, listening, and speaking. Reading, listening, and speaking.
Probably right.
Okay, so this one is a different type of derivative than you've seen. It's one that you do need to have memorized, but it's really just an extension, especially when we've memorized the derivative of e to the x. So in the textbook, this is what it says. If you have a function where you've got some number a to the x power, so an exponential function, your derivative will be a to the x and then times the natural log of a times the natural log of the base. So the reason why this is consistent with what we've done, if I apply that to e to the x, because e is just a number, I'm going to get e to the x times the natural log of e, but the natural log of e is just 1. That's why we can say the derivative of e to the x is e to the x. But if e is not your base, all of a sudden you do have to keep up with this. The derivative of 3 to the x would be 3 to the x times the natural log of 3. Natural log of 3 is not some nice whole number, so we have to leave that as is. 7 to the x would be 7 to the x times natural log of 7. So again, make this connection with number 1, why you don't put the natural log of e, and then to me that's not really any different. Now we do put I think just one of these on your next test, and these can be very, very easy questions, but certainly something that you need to make sure you review, since it's not something that you can practice a whole lot. Now of course there is the chain rule as well, so but that applies the same way that you should anticipate it to. So I've got 8 to some power, so like the top of the page, it's still going to be 8 to some power times the natural log of the base. And then because of chain rule, if that's not just to the x power, we need to multiply by the derivative of that. So times the 2x. 5 to the 2x would be 5 to the 2x times the natural log of 5. And then the chain rule would be times 2. Okay, you try to fill in the last one before I share it with you, just to make sure that you can piece them together correctly. Okay, so just like e to the x is an exponential function, you've got some number to some power. The derivative of e to the x has an e to the x. The derivative of 10x cubed plus 5x minus 1 is going to have a 10 to the x cubed plus 5x minus 1. But in this case, we need to do the natural log of the base, since the base is not e. If the base was e, this would be a 1, and it wouldn't be matter if we kept up with it. And then chain rule, this would be the stuff that's being plugged in, the inner function stuff. So you should have said times a 3x squared plus 5. So very big derivative, but not hard to piece together. Make sure you understand this pattern. Even better if you make the connection to e to the x, so you can see you've been doing it, you just haven't needed to include the natural log part before. Okay, anything you guys want to ask about this before we move on? Okay, again, I know we'll ask you at least one of these on your next test, maybe 2, probably just 1. These aren't like a big deal for the AP exam, but these could be very, very easy questions. 30 seconds of review and you can feel good about that question on the test, so make sure that you do that. Okay, at the end of class, I'd kind of like to branch off in two ways. I'd like to work out some of the questions on 41 with you, while you also work on the test review, depending on if you need help with a particular question or not. But before that, I would like you to, on number 44, go ahead and try through the Khan Academy assignment. It is related rates, but it's all Pythagorean theorem related rates. So the most common type of related rate, I feel like needs a little bit more attention, a little bit more focus. So do that, please. The sooner you finish that, the sooner you can move on and start chipping away at the test review to figure out where you stand. And when it looks like everyone's done with the Khan Academy, I'll take some questions from 41, since I do want you to finish that up. Also, before I forget, you guys know Wednesday is slightly different. I've not seen the bell schedule for Wednesday, but I suspect that our class will probably only be like 20 or 30 minutes in the afternoon, so we will not be doing anything new in class on Wednesday.
Did you have questions? Did you mean to put 10:18?
Huh?
Did you mean to put 10:18
10:18.
on the unit recess?
I did.
So we won't be missing anything when
You will not miss anything on Wednesday if you're not here. I know a handful of you are probably going to try to do the. Wait, do y'all have to do the community service?
No.
Okay. Freshmen have to do so many hours of community service before they graduate now.
Which is
That's a class of 2027.
a lot of freshmen.
doesn't allow
It's like 10 hours or something? No,
It's like 75,
75.
but you have the whole high school career, yeah. Okay, I updated the anticipated test date.
How was your weekend, Mr. Town?
It was good.
You had anything fun? Other than sleeping? You said that last weekend.
I did sleep in. It was my wife and I's anniversary, so we went out to lunch.
Oh, wow.
And that was the only different thing, I guess.
Out of the potential coincidence, what day was your anniversary? Was it Sunday?
No, 7.
Okay, my parents' anniversary was on Sunday. I was like, is that coincidence?
They probably got married a few years before I did. You know what you need to be doing? Okay, then let's go.
Isn't your birthday coming up?
My birthday is long past.
Was it September term? Wow, missed it. September. I was hoping it was tomorrow, October 10th, but that was a month off. I can still get your birthday present though, right?
The only birthday present I need is for you to do your work.
Well, I did that, and you signed me up for 2 weeks, so now I gotta.
You did that because I've been signing you up the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, but you didn't do it all at once.
You gotta convince me you can handle it on your own. Also, your other teachers can steal you from me on certain days.
Oh, actually, yeah.
When if they need you, they can.
So
You can't change it, but they can change it if they need you.
I'll have Miss Reese.
Certain days have priority days. So Tuesday is math, so nobody can take you on Tuesdays if I have you. But Wednesdays are science maybe, Thursdays or something else, Fridays or something else. So I can still request you, but whoever has priority can steal you from me if they need you those days.
Do we have to call in on Wednesday if we're not gonna be here?
If you don't want it to be unexcused absence, yes.
Hey, there it is.
know that I've seen every question on this one Khan Academy assignment. Bless you.
That makes sense. We should do it.
But again, since they're the Pythagorean theorem type, they should probably be the type you're most comfortable with. Maybe not right now, but by the test time at least.
How long have you been married? Oh.
As far as I can tell, looking at the questions y'all are getting right and wrong, it seems like they're going okay. But of course, ask me if I can help. Done. And again, while you wait, after you finish the Khan Academy, just do a little bit of your test review. You can pick and choose some of the stuff that looks easier and you just want to knock out. But it's good for you to start to identify when and what type of question and about how long you're gonna need the study before we try and discuss. I don't think there's anything new after today. In this unit, so. There's a big stapler over there if you prefer.
I did all the math on paper, and I got all of them wrong on paper, but I went to the Khan Academy and clicked the most similar one, and I got it right.
You get all of them.
I did get all of them right, all four. I guessed on all four,
Okay.
through my wrong math.
Okay.
So technically my math was right.
Well, that's one benefit of multiple choice, is sometimes you figure out, but you should figure out,
But I got lucky this time, which is kind of strange.
this is, related rates is almost half of this unit, so.
See, for this one, I got -5/2, the answer was -2/.
Okay. Well, you should look and compare to see what you did different. I don't know what the question is, so I don't.
Well, that was a question. That was that one. Alright. Okay. I got something for you. You gotta do that stuff.
Wait, yours is more? Yeah.
Chris is worse, but nobody else is better.
Two constants.
Oh, yeah, sorry. If you're not done.
I'm done. Hopefully I can get lucky on this test with you 27 times.
Sometimes
I was trying to pick out and see if there was some of the questions on this giving you guys more trouble than others, but it doesn't seem to be any one that stands out to me.
Last time I got it was like 4 years ago.
Alright, Christian, your Khan Academy didn't put a grade in, so I don't know if you didn't submit the last question or what, but it doesn't look like you're done. I don't know. Are you logged in? It doesn't have a score for you.
Weird. Implicit differentiation?
No.
Oh.
This one was related rates, Pythagorean theorem type.
Oh, yeah, I see it now. Are you kidding me? Just look at the whole thing. We're done.
Well, not for nothing. Implicit's a big part of this unit too.
Oh, okay, good.
Again, while we wait for a few more people to finish up their Khan Academy, just go ahead and move on to the test review, work a few questions. When everyone's done with Khan Academy, I will take a few questions from that number 41. Some of those are harder, and I want to give some more assistance there. But no point in moving on to it when some people are not ready there.
moving 3/4 as fast, but we don't actually know what the number is. Does that matter?
Dylan, that number 6 is probably the hardest one. Have you done the rest of them?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I'd probably save that one.
Okay.
You don't have to, but it's the hardest one for me, for sure. So I suspect that's one you guys want to talk about as a group. I'm gonna set a 5-minute timer, and then we're gonna move on. And if you're not finished with the Khan Academy, you'll just need to come back to it. But you should have that finished before class is over. Okay, if you are not finished with that Khan Academy, you need to stick with it. Again, I expect you to be finished with that by the end of class. But some of you have been working on the test review 45. But I also want to give some assistance to number 41, and partly so that we can be finished with that one. We've looked at that one. This will be the third class period looking at that. So unless you are finished with 41, I'd like you to get it out and see which questions you've tried and struggled with, and then I will go over those with you. And then when people are asking questions from that you personally don't need help with, you could just work a question or two from your test review and that would still be a good use of your time. All right, so I'm pretty sure we're all good on the front page, questions 1 through 6. Is that incorrect? Okay, then what about page 2, which was questions 1, 2, 3, and 4? Any of those causing you more issues than the others? Notice that once you get to page 2, these questions vary quite a bit in difficulty. Some of them are not too bad, some of them are pretty long, some take quite a bit of thought. But starting with page 2, these are all from past AP exams. So, yeah. Number 3, okay. So, take a look at number 3 real quick. If number 3 is one you need help with, then please follow along with me. Otherwise, just work another question from your test review while you wait. Okay, this one says you've got a 2-meter tall person walks directly away from a street light that is 8 meters tall. I certainly need a picture in this one. If the person is walking at a constant rate and the person's shadow is being lengthened at a rate of 4/9 meter per second, this would be his shadow. If this is the light source where it hits the top of his head, that's his shadow, and they tell us how fast that's growing. How fast in meters per second is the person walking? So it's wanting us to find how many meters per second, how fast is this guy walking for that shadow to be growing at that length. Okay, so the geometry formula that we need to take the derivative of in this one is quite a bit different than the others. A lot of the others are geometry formulas, Pythagorean theorem, volume of a cone, Pythagorean theorem, area of a circle, circumference of a circle, stuff like that. But for this one, you have to set up a proportion using these similar triangles. You've got a small right triangle here and a big right triangle here. So you can make a proportion by putting like small length over big length and then be consistent over here. I don't know this length and I don't know this length, so I'm just going to call one of them X and one of them Y. So small length would be X, big length would be X plus Y. I'm defining this as Y, just from here to here. Okay, so it seems like some of y'all didn't do that very much in geometry, so that'd be a little bit understanding, but are you okay with how this proportion's set up? Okay, if we cross multiply and distribute the 2 and take away 2 x's from both sides just to clean it up as much as possible, just like every other related rate question, at some point you need to take the derivative of the geometry formula. So the derivative of 2y with respect to time would be 2y prime. The derivative of 6x is not 6. It's 6 if you're taking the derivative with respect to x, which is what we are normally doing, but not in related rates. Related rates are always a function of time. So the derivative of 6x would be 6x prime. I've already defined this as x, so x prime would be 4/9. Divided by 3, this would be 8/3. Divided in half would be 4/3. Should end up y prime being 4/3 meter per second. Now, I would not go as far to say that this is a common type of related rate question, but if they ask it on your AP exam, or if they've asked it in the past, this isn't just a one-off. They've asked this before. There's a good chance it could be on this year's AP exam, so there's a fair chance that we would put one of these related rate type questions on your test. So if you had trouble making the picture, make sure you practice making the picture again. If you had trouble setting up the proportion, make sure you practice setting up the proportion again, just in case you see that stuff. Okay, looks like we're finished with that one. So how about stuff from page 3? Questions that you have tried that you've gotten stuck on. So that would be 5 through 9. Yeah, always.
Can you do 6?
Question 6, okay. I was hoping y'all wouldn't ask that one. You tried it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, number 6 is probably the most difficult one on here. So just because you didn't need help with the last one, you might want to watch this one. Okay, there's a few different things about this question that makes it kind of tough. The fact that this is a right triangle, I guess it doesn't guarantee that you're using Pythagorean theorem, but this one is a Pythagorean theorem question. And when we think of Pythagorean theorem, we usually think of A's, B's, and C's. And in this question, they've got P, Q's, and R's. So remember, side P is opposite angle P. Side Q is opposite angle Q, and side R is opposite angle R. But for my sanity, what I have found trying to work this question every year is this is a lot easier for me if I just also label them A, B, and C. So anytime they refer to Q, I'm going to call it A. Anytime they refer to R, I'm going to call it C. And anytime they refer to P, I'm going to refer to it as B, just because I think that makes it a little bit easier to keep up with what's going on. So we've got something about this length. They're asking us how some of this is changing, so that's why I knew Pythagorean theorem would work out. So this is the geometry formula that we need to take the derivative of with respect to time. So that creates an A prime, a B prime, and a C prime. I'm going to just divide everything by 2 just because, I don't know, makes it a little cleaner looking. You guys, I think, are probably used to that by now. Okay, we start plugging in some of the stuff that we have. I know that C is 40. What is the rate of change of C? What is C prime? Right, that is 0, because this is supposed to be a ladder. So I know they made a picture for you, but a ladder does not change size, so that's 0. And then you kind of slow down quite a bit, because we don't know either one of these lengths. We don't know either one of these rates. But in the last sentence, and this is, at least me personally, the hardest part is trying to get an equation out of this last sentence. It says the ladder is slipping down the wall. What is the distance RQ? So RQ is what I'm calling B. I didn't finish that right on this one. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna switch these two. I just want it to be consistent. I was afraid I was working it differently. Switch to A and the B. Those don't matter. This is actually asking for what I called A. It's actually RQ. Okay, but this last sentence says when Q prime is moving along the wall 3/4 as fast as P is moving down the wall. And again, even though I have worked this question every year for 4 or 5 years now, I always have to read that sentence several times before I can get a correct statement out of it. So when it says Q is moving along the wall as fast, so for me that would be Q. It sounds like they're saying Q prime, which I'm calling B prime. If you took 3/4 of his speed, it would be equal to this guy's speed. 3/4 of the speed of Q prime is P prime. But then it also says down the wall. So how fast is it moving down the wall, which makes this negative. Again, I don't know. I don't know if I have an easier way to simplify translating that sentence into this statement, because it's still a struggle for me, but that's what we need to get out of that. And instead of calling this P prime, I'm going to call it A prime. So this is how it's written with Q's and P's, but I'm just changing them to A's and B's. So after that, over here, I've got not a lot going on, but instead of saying A prime, I could say negative 3/4 B prime. So instead of saying A prime, negative 3/4 B prime. And it's hard to see how that's going to help, and that's why some of these can be pretty frustrating. But if you just keep going as much as you can, hopefully you recognize, hey, both of these have a B prime. Let's factor it out. And since this times this equals 0, it could be that B prime equals 0. But unfortunately, we know this ladder is falling down, so we know that's not really happening. Or this could equal 0. The reason why this is helpful is because you could solve it for B. B is the same thing as positive 3/4 of an A. And then I can take that information, restart Pythagorean theorem, but instead of saying B squared, I'm going to put 3/4 A squared. I've known the length of C to be 40 for a while. And again, the only reason I know to try that substitution is because it makes my equation only have A's in it. And so I still got a few steps to go, but that's what I was trying to find. Which is what they call it. They called it RQ, but I'm calling it A. I had just changed it to A. So right here, be careful, 3/4 times 3/4 would be 9/16. If you get a common denominator here, you could add these together. 40. Could divide both sides by 25, multiply both sides by 16. I didn't write that work out, but you end up with A is 32. So picture, although they made one for you, completely optional, but instead of trying to do P, Q, and R in your head, I think it makes sense to just call them A, B, and C, and then put A, B, and C on your picture. So when they say Q, you know you're working with B. When they say R, you're working with C. When they say P, you're working with A. You have to identify Pythagorean theorem. You know that you have to take the derivative of it. You quickly see you don't have enough information. You got to read that last sentence probably a couple of times to get this statement out of it. Even though you're not going to see how to use it instantly, at some point, if you think to make that substitution, It gives you an equation that you can solve for b, which lets you plug it back in the Pythagorean theorem and narrow that equation down to just a's, which lets you solve for a. And just the length of that question and the lettering and the last translating the last sentences, all of that to me makes that one the hardest one of all of these. Now, I have a theory and I have no evidence to support it, but remember on your AP exam, they like to average 2 to 3 minutes per question. 2 minutes per non-calculator question, 3 minutes per calculator question. That doesn't mean that questions can't take longer than 2 or 3 minutes, but on average they should take 2 to 3 minutes. This one, I suspected probably had a really low score the year that they put it on the AP exam, either just from length of question, people running out of time, too many steps to make a mistake. So that's probably why they released it, and they just didn't want to use it on any AP exams anymore. So I would say that this one's probably a little bit harder than you should expect to see in your AP exam. Yeah.
Can you explain why the b prime is 0 again? Like when you took it out of the step.
This step?
Yeah.
Okay, well, if I have this, what numbers of x make this true? Where this equals 0, because 0 times anything equals 0.
Oh yeah, okay.
Or where this equals 0. I just applied the same principle there. It just looks more complicated, but that's all I was doing, setting each factor equal to 0 and solving. But b prime couldn't be 0, that's why I didn't run with that. That didn't make sense for this question. That would mean that the ladder wasn't falling, and we were told it was. So again, the overall structure of the question is fine, Pythagorean theorem type is fine, but I do think that that's probably a little harder than you should be worried about. It doesn't mean that it's not good to still practice it. Okay, you guys have others on this page, 5 through 9? Number 8, okay. So, if you did not need help with number 6, if you already watched the class video on that or something, then make sure that you don't need to rejoin us for question 8. Number 8 says, in the triangle shown above, if theta increases at a rate of 3 radians per minute, so that's theta prime, what is the rate x is increasing in units per minute when x equals 3 units? Okay, so again, the questions totally vary in length and difficulty, but every question, picture usually helps, defining the variable helps, and then the first big hurdle is you've got to come up with a geometry formula that relates this stuff. So I would say Pythagorean theorem would be a good guess, but it's not going to help you in this question. It doesn't hurt you to try it, but you're going to see that you do it, you take the derivative, and you just don't have the right type of information. So we need a different equation that's going to tie in theta with x. And how did y'all do that? I can't hear.
Use like sine equation.
You can use, so using SOHCAHTOA, specifically sine, because sine lets you pair up opposite over hypotenuse. So this question, that is the geometry formula that we need to work from. It's not one we memorize like the area of a square or area of a circle or anything like that, but that's the formula from this that ties all this stuff in. Okay, now I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna make a couple mistakes here because I need y'all to try to catch these mistakes. The derivative of sine something is cosine something, and the derivative of 1/5 x would be 1/5. But what did I not consider? Prime on which one?
Theta.
Okay, I'm taking the derivative with respect to time. Theta is not the same thing as t, so when I took the derivative of this, I needed a theta prime, which should make sense because otherwise you should be asking yourself, why do I need to know this? It could be a distractor, but it's not. Okay, I had one other mistake in here too. Right, you guys are used to the derivative of x just being 1, or 1/5 x being 1/5. But that's because you're used to taking the derivative with respect to x. Related rates are always with respect to time, and x is not the same thing as t, so without an x prime that can't be correct. Okay, the last hurdle to this question is changing cosine theta into some numbers. Well, cosine is supposed to be what over what? Cosine is always what side over what side? Okay, well, I've got hypotenuse. I don't have adjacent, but when this side is 3, this side would have to be 4. So you could slow down and do Pythagorean theorem there, but 3, 4, 5 is the most common type of triangle. And then you are on your way to solve this. Looks like x prime should be 12. So if you're one of those people that you feel like you need to kind of mentally map out what the whole question's going to look like, that's not going to happen. I don't think anybody knew they were going to be using the equation sine theta equals x over 5 when they started that. Okay, and then if I'm going over any page too quickly, I'll give one more chance in a second. But last page only has 2 questions, 10 and 11. So either of those 2 that you've tried that you thought were harder than the others. Check.
11.
11?
Yeah. I'm just like confused.
Okay. Okay, when x equals 8, so there's one variable defined for us. The rate at which the cube root of x is increasing is 1/3, or I'm sorry, 1 over k times the rate at which x is increasing. So we should be able to get a statement out of that. The rate of this, what's another way to say rate? Derivative. So bring the power down, lower the power by 1, and that's not quite the derivative because I didn't include a what? An x prime. I took the derivative of x with respect to t. Okay, it says is, so is equal, increasing 1 over k times the rate at which x is increasing. And the rate of x would be x prime. So if this is supposed to be when x is 8, let's plug in an 8 here. Both sides of this equation have an x prime, so I could divide both sides by x prime. And then just based on, this is 1 over some numbers, and this is 1 over k. So k must be equal to what this stuff boils out to be. But we have to figure out what 3 times 8 to the 2/3 is. So, do you know how to take 8 to the 2/3?
Calculator.
Should not need
Put
a...
it in the square root.
Well, this would be a...
The cube root times 2 inside of the square root.
Oh, it's full square.
You know what I'm talking about?
12.
Square it, it's 2.
Okay, you could either square it, get 64, and then take the cube root, or you can take the cube root and square it, whatever you think's easier. What's the cube root of 8?
4. 2.
And then square that.
I'm thinking 4.
Okay. But again, you have to read their sentence, and you've got to come up with that equation. The rate of change of this, so the derivative of this when x equals 8, is equal to 1 over k times the rate of change of x. If you can get that equation set up, then most of the left and right side look the same, so makes it a little easier to solve for k. Okay, so again, I did move on from each page fairly quickly because I didn't want to waste any time. But anything from the first 6 on the front page, 1 through 4 on the second page, 5 through 9 on the third page, or number 10 on the back page. Any of the others that you have tried and want a hint on. Okay. So that will be the last class time I give you to work on that. So if you are not finished with that, you need to finish that up for homework. I do have most of those already worked out on the website as videos, so you'll need to use those at this point if you didn't have your questions ready to ask. But also, please use, unless you've got some of that other stuff to take care of, you guys still have 25 minutes, which is going to put a big dent in that test review. You don't have to finish the test review between now and Friday, but the back page has all the answers. It's structured the same as the last one. Reminds you that this unit has implicit. Got a few questions for you to practice. It reminds you about related rates. Got a couple questions to practice. Remind you that we did derivative of exponential functions. That's what we did this morning. Gives you a couple questions to practice. And then I think it has one practice FRQ. Number 7. Number 8. That's a B. 60. Oh, 4 squared, yeah, that makes sense. 75. 4. You said this is due Friday? No, it's not due Friday. But I want you to get as much done as you can without having to worry about it for homework yet. Yeah, you guys don't have to have the test review fully done by Friday, but you need to at least be using your class time to starting on it.
So find times. So this R value. Yeah. This one. Yeah. And then, but then why is that? Finding the derivative with the S prime. Wait, I have it right here.
I don't see a mistake, so I'll try it again here in a little bit after I help everybody. But all this looks fine as far as your reasoning, but it should come out to be like, what did I say, it was 12 or something? But your logic looks good. I just don't see a mistake in there. But you've got something, so I'll try it your way soon. But let me help people intersect.
So right here, it's on question 8B. And I plugged in to the while equation. And right now, I'm kind of confused, like where did I negative?
So what's the cosine of pi? Cosine of pi is -1. That's why it went from positive square root 2 to negative square root pi over 2.
Okay.
Now, if you don't know where the cosine came from, I guess that's a different issue, but.
Okay, yeah.
I don't need that page. I just need to do your work. This is what usually happens is people run out of time, so they just critical the answer, but see if you turn this in, and I get, I need to see. Maybe that's fine. But what'll happen is, if I can't find something, I'll give you half credit. If it's there.
So I would use the derivative for us, or, and then.
Wait, but what that is, you don't have to do this. I would not do it too, but I thought you had to do S prime, but it's just that S, so you don't.
Yeah.
You might need this derivative, but it's asking me to take the
So if it
derivative of
wasn't
this
an
stuff
S,
with respect to S.
You would have to take.
So that looks good.
That makes it so much.
Yeah, sounds good. These are
Oh, yeah.
And so you found what they wanted, but it wants it in terms of S only. So instead of saying R, you should say this, and instead of saying R prime, you mean this. So you did you want the same answer, but only S's. And the back page has the cursor. So.
Okay, you should have.
Oh, wait, see, that's, I got
I think I'm making
pi over 2.
pi over 2. Should be pi over 2.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Any I can help with right now?
It's simplified. Pi over 2.
Oh, so it'd be 2 pi, negative 2 pi over pi, and those. Yeah, no, they do. Because My friends
-2, and I cancel to here, so then I'll have to -2.
This is the town site. Yeah. For this one, is it just in this packet? I have to write on this.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing I don't want, what I was saying is like, if you just like put your answers here and that's all you turned in, I can't give you credit for that. I need to see the work behind the answers, that's all.
Okay. All right.
But I don't need you to turn the worksheet in. I know what the worksheet is. And I would guess I should add that even though our Unit 3 test is not until next week, and you guys have seen, if you haven't seen everything, you've seen all the big stuff, you should obviously start chipping away at making sure that you're as prepared as you can be. So you should not be waiting until next week to start to worry about these skills. I wrote that one down so I can try it later. I just haven't figured it out yet. Well, I don't remember if it was a calculator question or not, but you could graph this. Instead of K, B, and X's, graph this, and then look for the point. You might try that, see if that gives you the answer.
I take the derivative of this.
Did you tell her? It's just a washing.
Yes, except
I
it says
did.
B, it says B. Okay, except B prime. Yeah, the derivative looks fine.
I would do 300 equals 4 pi
Sounds like you're on the right track.
I got a different answer than that.
I bet it's how you typed it in the calculator. So let's see what you got.
I was gonna.
Okay, but show me how you started to do that.
1.7 multiple, that's number 4.
Okay.
And then,
How you forgot to do the pi?
and then I do that, 300 divided by that. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's just pi. You didn't multiply pi by what you had in before. But yeah, 300 divided by what you did have.
I multiply that by 4.
Okay. The other thing you could do is you you don't have to multiply all this together at once and then divide it by 300. Why don't you just take 300, divide it by 4, then divide it by pi, then divide it by 70 squared or whatever. That's a little easier to type in. So I want you to take the derivative of this, which you did, but it wants it in terms of S time. So instead of saying R, this R, you could put 3s to the fourth minus 1. And instead of saying R prime, you could put what the derivative of that is. So they just want you to rearrange your answer to only have this.
You just do these by plugging it in.
It didn't start it.
I did sort of like 7 different times. Do I have to find y for the next one? Like that's what I'm confused about.
This, that's asking for second derivative.
Yeah, but
So take the derivative with implicit.
do we need x prime and y prime?
Okay, well, we're taking the derivative with
So you do take it with, right, so I do need y prime.
if you need y prime, you're going to take derivative of y.
Okay, that's all I'm confused about then. So it's with respect to the bottom.
The bottom one tells you the variable.
Okay, well, the answer is in this.
Okay, I think that was okay. I believe so.
Yeah.
So finish solving that for y prime, get it down to y prime equals. That's just the first derivative, so then you need to take the derivative of that, the second derivative. Okay, as we move into our last 5 minutes today, again, I've verbalized this a few times, but let me say it one more time. Number 41, the basic related rates worksheet. Today was the third class that we looked at that. If you were not finished with that one, you need to finish that up for homework because I will be asking for it soon, and I will not be giving you any more class time on that. I just let you ask all of the questions you needed to. Most of those are worked out as videos though, so if there is some that you need more help with, you can watch where I recorded it in past years. The test review does not have to be completed by Friday, but obviously the more of it you do, the sooner you identify what your struggles are, the better off you're going to be. So, especially depending on your Wednesday activity, if you're not testing on Wednesday and you're at school and you're in advisory for 4 hours, then you probably should just go ahead and do it and get it over with. But if you're doing the PSAT, then obviously that's going to be tough.
What are we gonna be doing on Wednesday?
We won't do anything new on Wednesday. Class will be very short, and I suspect a lot of people will be gone for school business. So.